50 warriors surrounded his rancher to honor the cowboy who saved a native elder from a mountain lion. The morning sun rose slowly over the wide valley, casting a golden light across the rolling pastures and distant mountains. The rancher, a man who had spent most of his life tending the land and caring for his cattle, rode quietly along the worn dirt paths that crisscrossed his property. His horse moved steadily beneath him, hooves kicking up soft clouds of dust. The rancher knew every corner of this land. Every hill, every fence, every tree held a memory. He had lived here for decades, working hard from sunrise to sunset, and he had grown used to the calm rhythm of the ranch life. The quiet mornings were his favorite, when the air was still, and only the distant calls of birds broke the silence. He checked the fences carefully as he rode, making sure the cattle were safely inside their pens. The ranch was large, stretching across fields dotted with wildflowers and streams that reflected the bright sky. The rancher often paused to watch the cattle graze, noticing the calves play and the older cows moving slowly across the grass. It was a life of simple routines, but it gave him peace. He felt connected to the land, to the animals, and to the solitude that surrounded him. Most days passed without excitement, but the rancher had learned long ago that life could change in a single moment. Not far from the ranch, a native community lived in harmony with the mountains and forests. The rancher respected their traditions, and though he was a solitary man, he had developed a quiet friendship with some of the elders. He often helped them when needed, offering tools or advice, and in return they shared wisdom about the land and its creatures. He had great respect for their knowledge, especially when it came to the mountains where wildlife roamed freely. The elders spoke of the importance of balance, of understanding animals, and of keeping the land safe. The rancher listened carefully, knowing their experience was valuable. One warm morning, news reached the rancher that one of the respected elders from the native community planned to climb the nearby mountains to gather medicinal herbs and plants. The elder was older now, and though his mind remained sharp, his body had grown frail with age. The mountains were steep and rocky, and the forests were home to many wild animals, including mountain lions. The rancher's concern grew as he thought of the elder navigating those dangerous slopes alone. He remembered stories from years past about encounters with wildlife, and though the elder was careful, one wrong step could have severe consequences. The rancher felt a quiet sense of duty rising within him. He could not simply wait and hope everything would be all right. He prepared his horse, checking the saddle and tightening the straps. He packed a few essentials, a rope, some tools, and a small bag of food. Though the rancher did not like unnecessary attention or interruptions, he knew he had to act. He mounted his horse and rode toward the direction where the elder usually traveled. His movements were swift but careful, navigating narrow paths and uneven terrain with skill. As he rode, he thought about the life lessons he had learned from the mountains and forests. He knew the animals respected their territory and that rushing recklessly could provoke them. He also knew that courage sometimes meant facing danger head-on to protect others. As the rancher reached the foothills of the mountains, he spotted movement far ahead. Through the morning mist, he could see the elder slowly making his way along the rocky path, carefully picking herbs and examining plants. The elder moved deliberately, but the rancher noticed a shadow lurking near a cliff edge. A mountain lion, sleek and silent, watched from a distance, its eyes fixed on the elder. The rancher's heart tightened. He had faced wild animals before, but he had never seen one so focused, so determined. The mountain lion crouched low, its muscles tense, ready to leap at any sudden movement. The elder was unaware of the predator's presence, absorbed in the careful task of gathering herbs. The rancher's mind raced. He knew he could not allow the elder to be in danger. Slowly, he moved closer on horseback, making sure the mountain lion noticed him first. He raised his voice, calling out to distract the animal. The mountain lion's head turned, its attention shifting toward the sound. The elder looked up, startled, and saw the rancher approaching. Relief filled the elder's face, but the danger was far from over. The mountain lion hissed and flexed its claws, circling, trying to find the right moment to strike. The rancher's hand rested on the rope at his side. He had to act carefully without frightening the animal into attacking, but decisively enough to protect the elder. The rancher urged his horse forward, shouting and waving his arms. The mountain lion paused, unsure of this new presence. The rancher's heart pounded, but he remained calm, using every skill he had learned over the years. He threw a small rock near the animal, startling it further, and slowly moved closer to the elder. The mountain lion hissed and retreated slightly, its instincts cautious but wary. The elder took a step back, gripping his walking stick, eyes wide with fear and respect. The rancher reached the elder, guiding him gently toward a safer path along the mountainside. Every movement had to be deliberate. The mountain lion could attack at any moment, and the terrain made sudden escape difficult. As they moved, the rancher spoke softly to the elder, giving instructions and encouragement. The elder listened carefully, his trust in the rancher absolute. The mountain lion followed at a distance, keeping watch, but the presence of the rancher and his quick thinking kept it from attacking. Slowly, steadily, they made their way down the steep path, the sun climbing higher and warming the rocky slopes. The rancher's courage and experience shone, every decision made with precision and care. He guided the elder to a clearing near a stream, where the terrain was safer and the mountain lion could not easily reach them. Once they reached the clearing, the rancher stayed alert, watching the surrounding forest and hills. The mountain lion eventually retreated, disappearing into the shadows, leaving only the memory of its watchful gaze. The elder, breathing heavily but unharmed, turned to the rancher with a deep sense of gratitude. He spoke words of thanks, his voice trembling slightly from the adrenaline and fear he had just experienced. The rancher nodded humbly, insisting that anyone would have done the same. But the elder knew this act went beyond duty. It was a display of true courage and compassion. As they walked back toward the trail leading to the ranch, the elder and the rancher shared quiet conversation. The elder told stories of past encounters in the mountains, of the ways animals communicated with humans through their instincts, and of the importance of respecting all life. The rancher listened attentively, feeling a strong connection to the wisdom of the elder. He had faced danger before, but the experience left a deep impression. The mountains, the forest, the animals, and the people he cared about had all intersected in a moment that would not be forgotten. By the time they reached the base of the mountains, word of the encounter had begun to spread through the nearby community. Neighbors and members of the native tribe approached, expressing relief and admiration for the rancher's bravery. The elder, still recovering from the shock, repeated his thanks and blessings, honoring the rancher in a way that carried centuries of tradition and respect. The rancher, though modest, felt the weight of the moment. He realized that courage was not only about facing danger, but about protecting those who could not protect themselves. The morning faded into afternoon as the rancher returned to his daily routine. He tended to the cattle, repaired fences, and prepared meals, but his thoughts lingered on the mountains, the elder, and the mountain lion. The experience had reminded him of the fragility of life, the importance of vigilance, and the value of community. The rancher knew that life on the ranch could be quiet and uneventful most days, but in a single instant, everything could change. That awareness made him more grateful for the peace and safety he often took for granted. Evening came, painting the sky with shades of orange and purple. The rancher sat outside, watching his land and reflecting on the day. The elder's visit, the encounter with the mountain lion, and the feeling of responsibility he carried weighed on him, but not as a burden. Instead, it filled him with a quiet sense of purpose and satisfaction. He had acted when it mattered most, and the life of the elder was safe because of it. As the stars began to appear, twinkling over the mountains, the rancher felt a connection not only to the land and the animals, but also to the people who trusted him and the values he had always held. The calm of the valley returned with nightfall, but the memory of the morning lingered. The rancher knew that tomorrow he would ride again, tend to his cattle, and maintain his land as usual. Yet the knowledge that he had faced danger and protected another life would remain, a quiet story of bravery that no one could take away. It was the beginning of something larger, a connection that would grow between him and the native community, a bond formed in trust, respect, and courage. The news of the cowboys' brave act traveled quickly through the small native community nestled near the valley. People spoke in hushed tones at first, amazed at what had happened. The elder, who had always been respected for his wisdom, recounted the events to his family and neighbors with careful detail. He described the moment the mountain lion appeared, its eyes glinting with danger, and how the rancher had acted without hesitation to protect him. Each word he spoke carried weight, as the community listened with both relief and admiration. The elders' neighbors shook their heads in disbelief. Many had heard stories of wild animals in the mountains, but encounters like this were rare and dangerous. The rancher's actions were not only brave, but also thoughtful, showing an understanding of nature and human life that few possessed. People began to discuss how he had risked his own safety to save someone else, a stranger by most measures, yet a respected member of their community. Gratitude and respect grew quickly, spreading from house to house. Meanwhile, the rancher went about his day as usual, unaware of how much his actions were affecting others. He tended to his cattle, repaired fences that had been weakened by the morning wind, and prepared a modest meal for himself. His thoughts occasionally drifted back to the mountains, to the elder, and to the mountain lion. He felt no pride or desire for recognition, only the quiet satisfaction that he had done what was right. He had always believed that courage meant taking responsibility when it mattered, without expecting rewards or praise. As word continued to spread, members of the native community decided to take action. They wanted to honor the rancher properly, to show that they recognized his bravery and his respect for life. The elder himself began to organize a small gathering, inviting close friends and family. The plan was simple but meaningful, to show gratitude in a way that reflected their traditions. They spoke of symbols, songs, and gestures that conveyed respect, courage, and unity. The elders emphasized that this was not just about celebrating one man's actions, but about reinforcing the bonds between people and their neighbors. Days passed, and the anticipation of the gathering grew. The rancher continued his work, riding through pastures, checking on his cattle, and repairing fences. He noticed that a few community members occasionally watched him from a distance, their expressions serious but kind. Some waved as they passed by, acknowledging him without words. The rancher, humble as always, nodded politely but did not fully understand the depth of the respect being shown. He thought little of it, focusing instead on the land and the animals he cared for. The elder decided to visit the rancher personally. Early one morning, he walked up the familiar dirt path leading to the ranch house. The rancher was outside, tending to a stubborn calf that had wandered close to the fence. When he noticed the elder approaching, he dismounted and walked toward him, greeting him with a nod and a quiet smile. The elder returned the greeting with warmth, his eyes filled with gratitude. He spoke calmly, recounting once more the events in the mountains, highlighting the rancher's courage and quick thinking. The rancher listened, modestly acknowledging the elder's words. He insisted that he had only done what anyone would have done, but the elder shook his head. To him, the act was extraordinary. It was rare for someone to risk personal safety so willingly, without thought of reward. The elder spoke of the importance of honor and recognition, explaining that bravery needed to be acknowledged to inspire others and to strengthen the community. The rancher, still humble, accepted the words with quiet respect, understanding the elder's perspective. In the days following the visit, preparations for the gathering continued. Community members discussed the details carefully, deciding on traditional songs, gestures, and words of praise that would honor the rancher properly. They wanted the gathering to be meaningful, reflecting the values of courage, protection, and respect for life. Some members created symbolic items, crafted with care and attention to detail, representing the unity between the community and the rancher. Others planned the route the rancher would take to arrive, ensuring that he would understand the significance of the gathering without feeling pressured or overwhelmed. Meanwhile, the rancher remained unaware of the full scope of what was being planned. He continued his daily tasks, riding across pastures, tending to the cattle, and maintaining the land. He noticed small signs of appreciation, a basket of fresh bread left near the fence, a polite wave from a distance, a few people quietly watching his work. These gestures puzzled him at first, but he accepted them graciously, not seeking explanation. He was a man who valued action over words, believing that deeds mattered more than recognition. The day of the gathering finally arrived. Early in the morning, the sky was painted in shades of soft orange and gold, the air crisp with the promise of a new day. The rancher went about his routine as usual, checking fences and observing the cattle. He noticed a small group approaching along the path from the nearby community. At first, he thought it might be neighbors coming for a casual visit, but as they drew closer, he realized the group was larger than expected. 50 warriors had gathered, moving with quiet dignity and purpose. They surrounded the ranch, forming a respectful circle. Each warrior carried symbols of honor and respect, items that represented courage, protection, and community. Some wore traditional attire, while others carried objects crafted to convey gratitude and admiration. The rancher stood at the center, unsure at first of what was happening. The elder stepped forward, explaining the purpose of the gathering. He recounted the events in the mountains once more, highlighting the rancher's bravery, quick thinking, and respect for life. The rancher listened, his heart swelling with a mix of humility and awe. He had never expected such recognition, never imagined that his actions would lead to such a meaningful ceremony. The warriors performed songs and gestures that had been passed down through generations, each movement deliberate and full of significance. The atmosphere was solemn yet uplifting, filled with the weight of tradition and the joy of honoring a hero. The rancher began to understand the depth of the respect being shown. It was not just about saving the elder from danger. It was about the values he represented: courage, compassion, and protection. The community had recognized his efforts, not as an obligation, but as an acknowledgement of his character and integrity. The elder approached him, placing a hand on his shoulder, and spoke words of blessing and gratitude. The rancher felt a warmth that went beyond pride, a sense of connection and belonging that he had not fully realized before. Throughout the ceremony, the rancher observed the warriors and the community members, noting their careful attention to detail, their respect for tradition, and their genuine admiration. The songs, the symbols, and the gestures all carried meaning, each one reinforcing the bond between the rancher and the community. The elder spoke again, emphasizing that bravery was not just about facing danger, but about protecting others, even when it was difficult or inconvenient. The rancher nodded quietly, understanding that this was a lesson for him as much as it was an honor. As the gathering concluded, the warriors presented the rancher with items of recognition, crafted with care and symbolic meaning. The elder spoke one final time, reiterating the community's gratitude and the importance of his actions. The rancher accepted the gifts with humility, realizing that this experience had changed him. He felt a stronger connection to the community, a deeper understanding of the traditions and values that guided them, and a renewed appreciation for the life he led on the ranch. After the ceremony, the community lingered, sharing stories and quiet conversation. The rancher walked among them, observing their faces, listening to their words, and feeling the warmth of their respect. He knew that his actions had made a difference, not just in the mountains that morning, but in the hearts and minds of the people he had helped. The connection formed through courage, compassion, and respect would last far longer than any single event. The day ended with the sun setting over the valley, painting the sky with shades of pink and purple. The rancher returned to his home, reflecting on the ceremony, the elder's words, and the presence of the warriors. He felt gratitude for the experience, for the opportunity to protect life, and for the recognition that had been given. Though he had acted out of instinct and care, he now understood the impact of his actions. The bond between him and the native community had grown stronger, built on trust, courage, and mutual respect. As night fell, the rancher sat outside, watching the stars appear one by one in the clear sky. He thought about the mountains, the mountain lion, the elder, and the community that had come together to honor him. He felt a sense of peace and fulfillment, knowing that his actions had not only saved a life, but had also strengthened the connections between people, land, and tradition. The events of the day would remain in his memory, a reminder of the importance of courage, compassion, and respect for all living things. In the quiet of the evening, the rancher prepared for the next day, ready to continue his work, care for his cattle, and maintain the land he loved. But now there was something more, a sense of belonging, a connection to the community that had honored him, and a deeper understanding of the impact that one act of courage could have. The legacy of that morning, the gratitude of the elder, and the respect of the warriors would remain with him forever, a story of bravery and humanity that would inspire those who heard it for years to come. The morning of the ceremony arrived with a calm stillness that seemed to stretch across the valley. The rancher rose early, as was his habit, walking among his cattle and checking the fences, the cool breeze brushing against his face. There was a sense of quiet anticipation in the air, though he did not yet fully understand why. The past few days had brought unusual attention from the nearby native community, with visits from the elder and gestures of respect, but today felt different. Something important was about to happen, and even the animals seemed aware of the change. He prepared his horse carefully, ensuring the saddle was secure and the reins smooth, as he often did before long rides. His movements were precise and deliberate, reflecting years of experience and a respect for both his work and the animals he trusted. He knew that today would take him beyond his usual routines, but he welcomed the opportunity to witness the community's traditions firsthand. The rancher mounted his horse, his expression calm but attentive, ready for whatever awaited him along the path that led to the gathering. As he rode toward the meeting place, he noticed the first signs of preparation. Small groups of people moved quietly along the trail, arranging items and symbols with care. Some carried bundles of herbs and flowers, while others wore traditional attire, their movements graceful and purposeful. The rancher observed without comment, his curiosity growing. He had always respected the native community and their customs, but he had never participated in something so ceremonial. He felt a mix of humility and anticipation, unsure of what to expect but eager to show respect in return. The gathering was set in a large clearing near the edge of the valley, a place where the mountains rose dramatically behind and a river ran quietly nearby. The sun had climbed higher in the sky, casting a warm glow over the scene. The elders had arranged chairs and symbolic items in a circle, creating a space that felt sacred and respectful. Warriors from the community stood at the edges, carrying ceremonial objects and wearing traditional clothing that reflected the significance of the day. Each movement was deliberate, each gesture meaningful, and the rancher could sense the care and thought that had gone into every detail. When the rancher arrived, the elder approached him first, his expression warm and welcoming. He guided the rancher to the center of the clearing, explaining the purpose of the ceremony. The elder recounted the story of the mountain lion, describing the moment of danger and the rancher's decisive action. He spoke of courage, respect, and the importance of protecting life, framing the rancher's deeds not as a single event, but as a reflection of values that the community held dear. The rancher listened quietly, feeling a deep sense of connection to the elder and the people gathered around him. The warriors then began a series of ceremonial gestures, moving in patterns that had been passed down through generations. They sang songs of honor, their voices rising and falling in rhythm with the beat of the drums. Each sound seemed to echo through the valley, carrying with it the weight of tradition and the acknowledgement of bravery. The rancher watched with fascination, impressed by the precision and meaning behind each movement. He realized that this was more than recognition. It was a way to show unity, respect, and shared values. The elder invited the rancher to participate in certain parts of the ceremony, offering him symbols of honor that carried deep meaning. The rancher accepted with humility, holding each item carefully and observing the intentions behind them. The warriors explained the significance of each gesture and each object, emphasizing the connection between courage, protection, and respect for life. The rancher felt a quiet pride, not in himself, but in the recognition that his actions had bridged a gap between communities and strengthened bonds that mattered more than any single act of heroism. As the ceremony continued, the community members shared stories of past bravery, recounting tales of ancestors who had acted with courage in moments of danger. The rancher listened intently, absorbing the lessons embedded in each story. He realized that bravery was not only about confronting physical threats, but also about standing for values, protecting others, and showing compassion even in difficult circumstances. The connection between the past and the present was clear, and he felt honored to be included in this lineage of courage and respect. The elder then spoke directly to the rancher, recounting the morning of the mountain lion encounter in vivid detail. He praised the rancher's quick thinking, his calm demeanor, and his willingness to act without hesitation. The elder emphasized that this act had saved not only a life, but had also inspired the community, reinforcing the importance of courage and mutual care. The rancher nodded, accepting the praise with humility, understanding that the recognition was about more than him. It was about values that transcended individual actions. The warriors performed a final series of movements, circling the rancher and the elder with ceremonial precision. Their voices rose in unison, singing songs that honored bravery, protection, and unity. The rancher felt the weight and meaning of the moment, the respect of 50 people focused on acknowledging his actions. He realized that courage was recognized not just by words, but by shared experience, rituals, and the acknowledgement of community. This was a celebration of values, of life, and of the connections that bind people together. After the ceremony, the community presented the rancher with symbolic gifts, carefully crafted and imbued with meaning. Each item represented an aspect of the values they wished to honor: courage, protection, respect, and unity. The rancher received them with gratitude, understanding that these tokens were more than gifts. They were a message of appreciation and a testament to the bonds formed through action and respect. The elder explained the significance of each gift, emphasizing the importance of remembering the lessons and values associated with them. The rancher spent the rest of the day walking among the community members, engaging in quiet conversation and listening to their stories. He observed their gestures of respect, the way they spoke to one another, and the care they took in honoring traditions. He felt a sense of connection that he had never experienced before, a bond rooted in mutual respect and shared understanding. The experience left him deeply moved, and he realized that the impact of his actions went far beyond a single moment of bravery. It had created a lasting link between him and the community. As the sun began to set, the ceremony drew to a close. The elder spoke one final time, reminding the rancher of the importance of courage, compassion, and protection. He emphasized that these values were timeless, and that the rancher's actions had contributed to their preservation. The community members slowly dispersed, carrying with them the memory of the day, the songs, and the stories that had been shared. The rancher remained in the clearing, reflecting on the events, the recognition, and the connections that had been formed. That evening, as the valley cooled and the stars began to twinkle overhead, the rancher returned to his home. He tended to his cattle, repaired fences, and prepared a simple meal, but his thoughts remained with the ceremony and the people who had honored him. He understood that bravery was not about seeking recognition, but about acting with care, integrity, and compassion. The respect and gratitude shown to him were reminders of the impact one person could have on others and the importance of standing for what was right. The following days were filled with quiet visits from the elder and members of the community. They brought small gifts, shared meals, and spoke of the ceremony, reinforcing the lessons and values celebrated during the event. The rancher welcomed these interactions, enjoying the opportunity to connect and learn from the community. He shared stories of his own experiences on the ranch, teaching the younger generation about the land, the animals, and the importance of care and responsibility. Through these exchanges, the rancher realized that his actions had created more than recognition. They had fostered trust, respect, and a sense of shared purpose. The community's admiration was rooted in more than a single act of bravery. It was grounded in the values he embodied and the way he approached life on the ranch. This understanding deepened his appreciation for the bonds formed through courage and compassion, and he felt a renewed sense of purpose in his daily work. As the week progressed, the rancher and the elder spent more time together, discussing the mountains, the animals, and the traditions of the community. The elder shared stories of ancestors, of how courage and respect had shaped their lives, and of the importance of passing these values to the next generation. The rancher listened carefully, absorbing the lessons and reflecting on his own experiences. He understood that the true meaning of bravery extended beyond moments of danger. It was about living with integrity, protecting others, and honoring the connections that made life meaningful. Evenings were spent watching the sun set over the valley, the colors reflecting off the mountains and the river. The rancher felt a sense of peace and fulfillment, knowing that his actions had strengthened the bonds between communities, protected life, and inspired respect and gratitude. He continued his work on the ranch, tending to cattle, repairing fences, and maintaining the land, but now with a deeper understanding of the impact of his actions and the value of the relationships he had formed. The experience left a lasting impression on the rancher. He had faced danger, acted with courage, and been recognized in a way that reflected the values he held dear. The bonds formed through this event would remain, connecting him to the native community and the elders who had guided him. He realized that bravery and compassion were not only recognized in ceremonies, but were reflected in everyday actions, in care for others, and in the willingness to protect life. As night fell, the rancher sat outside his home, looking at the stars above. The memory of the ceremony, the songs of the warriors, and the blessings of the elder filled him with a sense of calm pride. He understood that the impact of his actions extended far beyond that morning in the mountains. It had created a legacy of trust, respect, and connection. The events of the past days would remain with him, a reminder of the importance of courage, the value of compassion, and the enduring power of human connection. The morning was bright and clear, with the sun climbing slowly over the distant mountains and casting a warm glow across the valley. Birds sang in the trees, and the soft rustle of the wind through the grasses added a quiet music to the scene. The rancher had risen early, as he always did, moving about his property with careful attention to his daily tasks. Yet today felt different. The air carried a sense of anticipation, as though the valley itself knew that something important was about to happen. He noticed the signs of preparation, small groups moving purposefully along the trails, warriors arranging ceremonial objects, and the elder overseeing every detail with calm authority. The rancher mounted his horse and began the ride toward the clearing, his movements steady but alert. He could see that a large group had gathered, more than he had expected. 50 warriors from the native community had come to honor him, each one moving with dignity and focus. They were dressed in traditional attire, their movements deliberate, their eyes filled with respect. Some carried symbolic items, others held crafted gifts, and all seemed to understand the significance of this moment. The rancher felt a mixture of humility and curiosity. He had never witnessed such a gathering, and he was eager to understand the meaning behind it. As he approached the clearing, the elder stepped forward to guide him. The rancher dismounted carefully, taking note of the intricate arrangements in the open space. Items had been placed with precision, small bundles of herbs, woven objects, and symbols of protection and courage. The elder explained the purpose of each object, emphasizing the significance behind the selection. Each item was a reflection of values that the community held dear: bravery, respect, protection, and unity. The rancher listened attentively, realizing that this ceremony was far more than a simple recognition. It was a connection to generations of tradition, carefully passed down and now extended to him. The warriors moved into formation, surrounding the rancher in a wide circle. Their presence was commanding yet respectful. Each step they took was deliberate, their movements synchronized as if rehearsed over countless ceremonies in the past. The rancher felt the weight of the moment, the collective attention of 50 people focused entirely on him. It was overwhelming, yet grounding, as though their respect and acknowledgement were tangible in the air around him. The elder stepped closer, reciting words of honor and gratitude. He described in detail the mountain lion encounter and the rancher's bravery, emphasizing how the rancher had acted decisively and selflessly to protect a vulnerable elder. The rancher nodded, taking in every word. He had never thought of his actions as extraordinary, only necessary. Yet here, in the presence of the warriors and the elder, he understood the significance of what had occurred. Courage was not measured simply by action, but by the impact it had on others and the strength it inspired in a community. He felt a quiet sense of pride, not for himself, but for the bond that had formed through trust, respect, and shared values. The warriors began their ceremonial movements, walking in a slow, deliberate pattern around the clearing. Their steps echoed softly against the earth, accompanied by the deep rhythm of drums and the steady cadence of song. Each movement held meaning, conveying honor, respect, and protection. The rancher observed closely, trying to understand the language of gestures, the subtle shifts of posture, and the flow of motion that told a story older than anyone could measure. He realized that this was not just a ceremony, it was a living expression of culture, values, and reverence for life. The elder invited the rancher to participate, guiding him to stand at the center of the circle. He handed the rancher a crafted symbol, explaining its meaning: courage in the face of danger, respect for life, and protection of others. The rancher held it carefully, understanding that the object was not merely a gift, but a message of acknowledgement and trust. The warriors performed additional movements, moving closer in a synchronized rhythm, their eyes never leaving the rancher. The songs rose and fell with the beating of drums, creating a sense of connection between the land, the people, and the act of bravery that had brought them together. The rancher noticed the expressions of the warriors, calm, focused, and full of respect. Each one seemed to carry both pride and reverence, a testament to the importance of their traditions and the sincerity of their acknowledgement. He felt a wave of humility wash over him, realizing that this ceremony was not about personal recognition, but about the values it celebrated. It was a moment that honored bravery, compassion, and human connection. The elder spoke again, emphasizing that courage was not simply facing danger, but acting to protect others without hesitation, even when it required risk or discomfort. The ceremony continued with the presentation of symbolic gifts. Warriors approached the rancher, each offering an item imbued with meaning. Woven bands representing unity, small carvings symbolizing courage, and carefully arranged bundles of herbs for protection. The rancher received each with humility, understanding that the gifts represented trust, respect, and acknowledgement of his actions. He listened to the explanations provided by the elder, learning the depth of the significance behind each offering. These were not just objects. They were stories, lessons, and traditions woven into tangible forms. As the ceremony progressed, the rancher and the elder shared a quiet moment of conversation. The elder spoke of the importance of recognizing bravery, of preserving culture, and of maintaining bonds between communities. He reminded the rancher that courage was most meaningful when it protected life and inspired others. The rancher reflected on the mountain lion encounter, realizing how much he had learned from the experience, not only about danger and instinct, but about trust, respect, and the strength of human connection. The warriors performed a final series of movements, encircling the rancher with deliberate steps and rhythmic song. The air seemed charged with energy, a shared sense of history and reverence that spanned generations. The rancher felt a profound connection to the land, the community, and the values being celebrated. He understood that bravery was not simply an individual trait. It was a reflection of how one lived in harmony with others, how one protected life, and how one honored relationships. After the ceremony, the elder addressed the entire group. He spoke of the rancher's actions, highlighting how a single act of courage had inspired respect and strengthened the bonds between communities. He emphasized that bravery was meaningful not for recognition, but for the way it influenced others and protected life. The warriors listened intently, nodding in agreement, their eyes reflecting the sincerity of their words. The rancher stood quietly, absorbing the depth of what was being said, feeling both humbled and honored. The community members lingered after the ceremony, sharing meals, conversation, and laughter. The rancher joined them, walking among the warriors and elders, exchanging stories and learning more about their traditions. He observed the care they took in every action, the meaning behind each gesture, and the pride they felt in honoring courage. Through these interactions, he realized that the ceremony was more than recognition. It was a living connection between people, land, and values that endured across generations. As the sun began to lower in the sky, painting the valley with shades of gold and orange, the rancher reflected on the events of the day. He had witnessed bravery recognized in a way he had never experienced before, surrounded by 50 warriors whose respect and attention were sincere and profound. He understood that this honor was not about personal glory, but about reinforcing the importance of courage, protection, and mutual respect. The experience left him with a deeper appreciation for life, for community, and for the bonds that connected them all. The elder approached him one last time, offering words of guidance and blessing. He reminded the rancher that courage was not a one-time act but a way of living, and that the respect shown today was a reflection of values that mattered most. The rancher accepted the blessing with humility, feeling the weight of responsibility and the warmth of acknowledgement. He knew that the connection formed through this ceremony would remain, influencing his actions and thoughts for years to come. As evening settled over the valley, the warriors and community members slowly departed, leaving the rancher and the elder in quiet reflection. The sounds of the river, the rustle of trees, and the soft calls of distant animals filled the air. The rancher looked at the mountains where the encounter had occurred and felt a renewed sense of purpose. He understood that his life on the ranch, while often solitary and routine, had now become intertwined with a larger story of courage, compassion, and respect. Night fell and the rancher returned to his home. He tended to his cattle, repaired the fences, and prepared a simple meal. Yet his thoughts remained with the ceremony, the warriors, and the lessons shared by the elder. He realized that bravery was not measured by recognition, but by the willingness to act for others, to protect life, and to honor connections. The events of the day had left a lasting impression, creating a legacy of trust, respect, and shared values that would endure for generations. Under the starlit sky, the rancher walked among his land, reflecting on the significance of the ceremony. The gifts, the songs, and the gestures of the warriors were more than symbols. They were reminders of the impact one person could have when guided by courage and compassion. The experience deepened his understanding of human connection, the strength of community, and the importance of protecting life. The mountains, the valley, and the land he cherished now held memories of honor and respect, marking a moment that would never be forgotten. The morning air was cool, carrying the scent of fresh grass and wildflowers across the valley. The rancher rose early, as he always did, feeling a quiet sense of calm that had settled over him since the ceremony. The events of the past days, the mountain lion encounter, the elder's gratitude, the gathering of 50 warriors, and the ceremonial honor, had left a lasting impression. He moved among his cattle with care, checking fences and guiding the animals to fresh pastures, yet his mind often drifted back to the moments that had changed everything. The valley seemed alive with a renewed energy, as if nature itself acknowledged the bonds that had been formed. Birds flew higher, the wind whispered through the trees, and the river glimmered under the morning sun. The rancher felt a deep connection to the land, the animals, and the people who had honored him. He understood that bravery and compassion extended beyond a single act. They shaped relationships, inspired trust, and created a legacy that endured over time. The elder visited once again, walking along the familiar dirt path that led to the ranch house. His steps were steady, his expression calm, yet filled with warmth and respect. The rancher greeted him with a nod, helping him settle near the porch where the morning sun painted gentle patterns on the ground. They spoke quietly, sharing reflections on the events that had brought them closer together. The elder reminded the rancher that courage was not only about facing danger, but about living with integrity, protecting life, and honoring human connections. The rancher listened attentively, understanding the depth of the elder's words. He thought of the mountain lion, the careful steps he had taken to protect the elder, and the ceremony that had followed. Each moment had been an opportunity to demonstrate values he had long held: respect for life, care for others, and quiet courage in the face of uncertainty. The elder's teachings reinforced these lessons, showing him that the impact of his actions extended far beyond what he could see. As the day progressed, neighbors and members of the native community arrived to share stories, meals, and conversation. The rancher welcomed them, enjoying the chance to engage with people who had come to respect and trust him. Children asked questions about the mountains, the animals, and the events that had occurred, and the rancher shared his experiences with patience and care. He taught them about the land, the behavior of wildlife, and the importance of caution and respect in the wilderness. Through these interactions, he felt a sense of purpose that extended beyond tending his ranch. He was helping to pass knowledge and values to the next generation. The elders shared wisdom as well, recounting tales of ancestors, past encounters with wildlife, and the importance of courage in protecting life. The rancher listened carefully, absorbing the lessons and reflecting on how they connected to his own experiences. He realized that bravery was not measured in moments of danger alone, but in the consistency of actions guided by care and integrity. Every day on the ranch offered opportunities to live those values, and he embraced them fully. Evenings were particularly peaceful. The rancher often sat outside, watching the sun dip behind the mountains, casting long shadows across the valley. The sky transformed into shades of gold, orange, and deep purple, reflecting the tranquility he felt within. He thought of the warriors, their songs, their gestures, and the meaning behind the ceremonial gifts. Each memory brought a quiet sense of pride, not for personal glory, but for the trust, respect, and unity that had been nurtured through his actions. The bonds formed with the community were real, lasting, and rooted in shared values. The elder would visit frequently, sitting beside the rancher as they observed the valley and spoke of the mountains. They discussed the behavior of animals, the importance of observing nature carefully, and the wisdom that could be drawn from understanding the world around them. The rancher appreciated these visits, valuing both the lessons and the friendship that had developed. He realized that the legacy of bravery was not just in what he had done that morning, but in the relationships, knowledge, and trust that had been built since then. The rancher began inviting the community into his work, showing them how to care for the cattle, repair fences, and navigate the land safely. He shared stories of past experiences, teaching lessons learned over decades of ranching. The community members, in turn, shared insights from their traditions, explaining how they observed animals, predicted weather, and respected the mountains. This exchange of knowledge strengthened their connection, creating a network of understanding and mutual respect. The rancher saw how courage and care could be extended in everyday life, shaping both actions and relationships. Over time, the rancher noticed that his actions had inspired others to act with bravery and consideration. Children who had heard the story of the mountain lion encounter were more cautious and attentive in the mountains, learning the importance of preparation and respect for wildlife. Adults began helping one another more readily, offering assistance, sharing tools, and ensuring safety in their daily work. The rancher realized that his single act of courage had ripple effects, encouraging a culture of care and responsibility within the community. The elder continued to bless the rancher, sharing wisdom and guidance that extended beyond the immediate events. He spoke of how acts of bravery, when combined with humility and respect, could inspire generations. The rancher understood that the honor given to him was not merely recognition. It was a responsibility to uphold the values that had been celebrated. He accepted this responsibility with humility, knowing that his life on the ranch was now intertwined with the community in a meaningful and enduring way. As weeks turned into months, the bond between the rancher and the native community deepened. They shared celebrations, seasonal rituals, and everyday moments, creating a sense of unity and belonging. The rancher's presence became a source of reassurance, demonstrating that courage and compassion could bridge differences and strengthen connections. He continued his work on the ranch, tending to cattle, repairing fences, and navigating the mountains, but now with the knowledge that his actions were part of a larger story of trust and respect. The mountains, once a place of danger, became a symbol of harmony. The rancher understood the patterns of wildlife more clearly, anticipating their behavior and moving carefully through the terrain. The elder would accompany him sometimes, pointing out signs of animals, explaining traditional knowledge, and sharing stories of courage from generations past. These experiences enriched the rancher's understanding, showing him that bravery and respect for life were not isolated acts but a continuous practice, woven into every decision and interaction. Evenings remained a time for reflection. The rancher often sat outside, watching the stars appear above the mountains, thinking about the events that had brought him and the community together. He recalled the mountain lion encounter, the ceremony with 50 warriors, and the elder's blessings. Each memory reminded him that courage was meaningful not for recognition alone, but for the way it inspired others, protected life, and built trust. He felt a sense of fulfillment and peace, knowing that his actions had created a positive and lasting impact. The community continued to honor him, not with grand gestures but through everyday recognition and respect. People visited, asked advice, shared stories, and included him in traditions and gatherings. The rancher realized that true honor was reflected in these moments of connection and mutual care, far more than in any ceremony or symbolic gift. The bonds he had formed were living, growing stronger with each interaction, each shared meal, and each story told. Over time, the rancher became a quiet symbol of courage and care. His actions had shown that bravery was not only about confronting danger, but about living with integrity, protecting life, and fostering trust. Children learned from his example, adults admired his humility, and the elder praised the continuation of values that had shaped the community for generations. The rancher understood that his life, though simple and routine, now carried a deeper purpose, to uphold the principles of courage, respect, and compassion in everything he did. The seasons changed, and life on the ranch continued with its usual rhythm. Yet the story of the mountain lion encounter and the honor ceremony remained, a reminder to all who witnessed it of the power of bravery and the importance of protecting others. The rancher maintained his routines, cared for his land, and continued to share knowledge with the community, living a life that reflected the values he had demonstrated in that single decisive moment. Even as years passed, the memory of the ceremony and the 50 warriors' honor lingered. The rancher often thought of the elder, the songs, the gestures, and the meaningful gifts. He understood that these moments were more than recognition, they were a legacy. They reminded him and others that courage combined with compassion could inspire trust, strengthen bonds, and leave a lasting impact on the people and the land. One quiet evening, the rancher stood on a hill overlooking the valley, the wind brushing softly against his face. He watched his cattle grazing, the mountains rising majestically in the distance, and the river sparkling in the fading light. He felt a deep sense of contentment, knowing that his actions had made a difference. The bonds he had formed with the native community were strong, built on trust, respect, and shared values. He realized that the true reward for courage was not recognition or praise, but the lasting connections it created and the lives it protected. As the stars filled the sky, the rancher thought back to that morning when he had faced the mountain lion. He remembered the fear, the focus, and the determination that had guided him. But he also remembered the gratitude, respect, and warmth that had followed, creating a story that would be shared for generations. He understood that bravery was more than an act. It was a way of life, reflected in care for others, protection of life, and respect for tradition. With a final glance at the mountains, the rancher turned back toward his home, the valley quiet and peaceful around him. He knew that each day would bring new challenges, new tasks, and new opportunities to live by the values he held dear. But he also knew that the legacy of courage, compassion, and respect would remain, shaping his life, the community, and the land he loved for years to come. The rancher felt a quiet satisfaction, a sense of purpose, and a deep connection to the people and the world around him, knowing that his actions had left a mark that would never fade.